Ticketcorner has some questions for me in this jar here, and so I shall answer them to the best of my ability, one at a time. What do we have here? What's the most humbling compliment someone ever gave you? The most humbling, yikes. That, you know what? The first time I got to sing for Roger Taylor himself in 2011, and him telling me that it sounded like Freddie Mercury stepped into the room, that was probably one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten. Do you have any rituals before the show? How do you get into the Freddie zone? Before the show, it's pretty simple. I warm up my voice a little bit. Sometimes I don't warm up my voice, which is not a good idea. But sometimes I feel good. Sometimes I feel like I need more of a warm-up. I spend time with the band. We do a sound check, and generally we have a meal, as people do at that time of the day. And yeah, then I kind of take a half an hour to be by myself, to think through the show, to get dressed, make sure everything's looking good, and if there are any new things to think about, to change for the show, then that's when we go over that. But it's pretty simple, honestly. What's the one life lesson we should all learn from Freddie Mercury? Well, the thing that I learned from Freddie Mercury as a singer, as an artist, is to make the best of the time that you have. Anytime that I listen to Freddie Mercury's voice, especially when I hear it just by itself, I'm always astonished by how much energy and how much passion he's giving into it. And I think that's something we can all learn from him. He was known as a lover of life, and we don't know how much time we have on this earth, so it's to make the best of it. How did you react when Queen reached out to you for doing the vocals in Bohemian Rhapsody? Well, I had known for quite a few years that there was a movie that was going to be made eventually. I've had a relationship with Queen since 2011, since I started with Roger Taylor's band, the Queen Extravaganza. And even then, they were talking about this movie that someday was going to be made about Freddie Mercury and his band. And so I was almost expecting it someday, but still not holding my breath, because you know, you always hear about how long it takes for movies to get approved and all that stuff that has to happen before a movie gets made. But 2 years ago, I believe it was in 2016, end of 2016, I got the call from one of the producers in the movie asking me to lend my voice to the movie. And it was a very exciting feeling to know that this was going to be made, and obviously I was hugely honored to be considered to be a part of this momentous occasion, creating a movie around the life of someone that is so enigmatic, and a band that is so beloved all over the world. We knew that this was going to be an important movie, and so it was a huge honor. What can we expect from the One Vision of Queen show? Well, I think when a lot of people think of a tribute show, they think about people dressing up and pretending that, or acting like they are the people whose music they're playing. That's great. There's a lot of people who do that really well. That's not what we do. We are fans of Queen like you, and we are ourselves on stage. I'm always Marc Martel when I'm performing the music of Queen. And I think that's an interesting thing, because it gives us a different perspective. We can do things that maybe a dress-up tribute band wouldn't do. We're not trying to replicate an iconic show like Wembley or anything like that. I'm not dressing up in a yellow jacket or wearing a mustache or anything like that. I am Marc Martel, sort of giving my vision of how Queen has affected me, and hopefully that's something that people who come to the show can relate to, and we're all fans of the band in the room, just celebrating this incredible music, and also allows us to do things like play a song that maybe is not a Queen song in the style of Queen. So we have a lot of fun with it. What do we got here? Next on the list, how do you stay sane and fit on a long tour like One Vision of Queen? That's an excellent question, and a big part of my life, something that I think about every day. How do you stay sane, keep your head straight? How do you stay healthy? Long hours on the road can lead to, well, it's all about every day. You're making good decisions, you know. And for me, this music is very challenging to sing, especially because I'm singing someone else's music and people are coming to the show expecting that they're going to hear that performed very well, performed the way that they know it and love it. And so I'm not avoiding high notes. I'm singing all the high notes every day. And what's very important to me is enough sleep, enough water, not drinking too much. And if I can do that, I'm in pretty good shape. And you know, sometimes I like having my wife comes on the road sometimes, and that's another level of keeping me sane. And also my manager. I've got a great team around me. The bandmates, we're all really good friends and we get along really well. And so lots of factors. But yeah, the One Vision of Queen tour is 6 weeks long, which is a little longer than I'm used to being on the road. But we got a good system in place to make that work. So exciting. What's the best career advice somebody ever gave to you? Stop saying no to work. That was really good advice. A working musician is a happy musician. Am I right? What's your favorite Queen song to perform live and why? Besides Bohemian Rhapsody, because it's kind of hard to say anything other than Bohemian Rhapsody, but I also love performing Under Pressure because I get to share the lead vocals with someone else in the band, and it's a very great sense of camaraderie. I also love performing Love of My Life. I get to do that just by myself on the piano, and it's always such a wonderful moment. What's the hardest Queen song to perform live and why? I would have to give that award to The Show Must Go On. If I feel like I've performed The Show Must Go On well in an evening, generally that means it's been a really good show, which is most of the time, honestly. But The Show Must Go On is a very, I'm sure you know it, it's very screamy, it's very high, and requires a lot of energy pushing from the diaphragm and you know, making sure you're not hurting yourself. And so that's a big challenge as far as songs go. So yeah, that's I've got to stay in shape just for that song. That's a North American reference, not. If you could ask Freddie Mercury one last question, what would it be? I don't know. Honestly, I've thought about this before, and this is not the first time I've had this question. But every time I try to think of what question I would ask him, it feels like to me, it feels a bit of like a selfish thing, like a self-serving thing. Like, what can I get out of you if I have just one moment with you, you know? And I think I'd much rather spend time having coffee or just getting to know someone. And I don't know, maybe the first question would be, how are you doing? And yeah, that's how I'm going to answer that one. Are there any other famous singers you can mimic? Can you show us? Ooh, that second part of the question. That's embarrassing. I grew up not taking voice lessons and decided to make my living as a singer. So the way that I got around that was I mimicked other singers listening to the radio and you know, fell in love with a lot of singers that I felt had a similar vocal sound to mine, like George Michael, like Richard Marx, Jeff Buckley, a little bit of Bono. What else? I got really into Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam for a long time. And if you want to hear that, oh boy. There's also another singer, Five for Fighting. I don't know if they were big here. Five for Fighting. Won't even bother with that one because everyone's just kind of giving me a blank stare. All right, so how do we start here? Just jump into it. Oh, well, I guess it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody has got a body like. I'm looking out for angels trying to find some peace. Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? Boy was something that mommy wouldn't wear. King Jeremy wicked, oh, rule this world. Jeremy spoken. But I know. Yeah, okay, there it is. Yeah. Never cared for what they do. I never cared for what they know. But I know. Yeah, yeah. Ridiculous.